had was the he had the blessing of his spiritual master.
Yes.
He had, a few translated books, typewriter, cartals, but other than that, he didn't have resources or connections, or you know what I mean. And so it
Yeah.
just like, I don't know, just seeing like how much he struggled in the beginning and how much how exponentially the movement grew. It just, I don't know, it was very emotional for me to watch that.
Yeah. Just in a few years, how the movement caught on fire, right?
Right. Yeah. So I don't know, it's just very inspiring.
Right.
Just
The Hare Krishna explosion.
it was it was ecstatic. Yeah. It was like, I don't know. It's just, somebody inspires you so much that it's like
Yeah.
tears come like that.
Yeah, Yadavar and Vishaka joined up with ISKCON and Prabhupada in around 1972 in Bombay.
They again,
And
say again.
they joined up. They became devotees.
Okay. In
They
1972,
were
and
in India making a documentary on something entirely different.
they just
And
kind
they
of
came
happened.
across
So they were.
they came across one of Prabhupada's Fundal programs in Bombay, as far as I recall. And the big tent programs,
Yes.
and they got more and more involved until they decided to join to become devotees of Krishna.
Yeah, it's pretty ecstatic that how they were in India doing something else, but they met the pure devotee, and the pure devotees they started doing the same thing for Srila Prabhupada, making wonderful videos and taking pictures, and I think because of them we have all these wonderful films and photos, right? It's all to their
Not
wonderful.
all, because Gurudas made what I would consider to be the finest photos of Prabhupada that were ever taken,
Okay,
but not films.
yeah, the films were done by Yadabara and Vishaka Prabhus. Yes.
I think so.
Okay. Yeah. Jai.
But as time went on, more and more people had resources, But
Right.
when I came into the movement, nobody had ordinary camera except a few people like Guru, So when Guru Das came in, he had a camera and he was taking really fantastic emotional photographs of Srila Prabhupada in 1967, 68 with his early disciples.
Yes. Yes. Those pictures, Srila Prabhupada walking in what was in New York and stuff with who is that? Shama Sundar and Jayananda and stuff. Those
Well,
were.
those were not Guru Das, I don't think.
Oh.
I don't know who took those pictures.
Okay. Okay.
He was in, see, back then, if you were in a certain part of the country, that's where you were,
Right.
It was only later, like starting in 1969 and onwards, that Prabhupada ventured out of the country with disciples. Like India and Europe and London, they went to London and did a fantastic activity with the Beatles. But incidentally, Tomal tried to reproduce it in Los Angeles and wanted me to be the guy that headed it up. But then in the end, he realized what he really wanted to do was to go to England and basically do what he likes to do, which is take over what they were doing. And when he went there, he made it very rigid and that's when the Beatles began to lose enthusiasm for the devotees.
I see. Tamal's personality
Yeah.
or his mood was
Yeah,
go
he
in there
wanted
and
to
take
make it
over.
more rigid and militaristic, not as open, not as friendly, not as inclusive. In other words, he wanted to control the whole thing,
Yeah. Wherever he went.
and it spoiled it. Later on, Shamasunder spoiled it by getting hypnotized by the ruby mines and getting George Harrison away from creating wonderful songs for Krishna and trying to get him to invest in ruby mines.
Right. Ruby Mine.
Yeah, that was not such a hot thing to do.
All right.
The rubies, as Prabhupada said clearly, were not.
Oh, we're getting a lot of noise in the background, like someone's cutting something.
Really?
Yeah. Cut.
You hear a noise in the background?
Yeah.
I don't know. But that
Yeah, stop.
so Shamasunder ended up investing a large amount of money in ruby mines, but the rubies are of such low quality they couldn't be used even as industrial rubies, which means for manufacturing and stuff like that, for tooling, making tools. So he ended up using it, dumped them in dump truck loads on his driveway.
Say again? Oh, sorry, what was that?
So he had that Shamasunder. George Harrison did after Shamasunder sort of broke away from this ISKCON in the later 70s.
All right.
Around
Okay.
1976, 70s. It may have also been after Prabhupada injured Salami.
All right. So, do we remember where we left off last time? Anyone remember? I think we read this, but please. Rupa Manjari Prabhu, do you remember where we left
Yeah.
off?
I don't. I'm sorry.
Okay, it's all right. Let me see. What's important in whole lives engage on? Okay, next time I'll highlight it and save it. So I'll remember. Okay. Okay, maybe we can read from here, huh? Okay. Rupa Manjari Prabhu, should I read or you want to read today? Or
Oh, you can read.
okay, I'll read here. A civilization in which the people do not know how the representative of Narada and Krishna should be respected, how society should be formed, and how one should advance.
Prabhu,
Yeah.
could you say where those words are coming from?
Oh, sorry. This is coming from Varnasrum Dharma, the book compiled of who is it by?
Hare Krishna Devi Dasi.
Hare Krishna Devi Dasi, and this quote is coming from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 7, verse 13, purport. All right.
Yeah, that works.
Yes. A civilization in which the people do not know how the representative of Narada and Krishna should be respected, how society should be formed, and how one should advance in Krishna consciousness. A society concerned only with manufacturing new cars and new skyscrapers every year and then breaking them to pieces and making new ones may be technologically advanced, but it is not a human civilization. A human civilization is advanced when its people follow the Chatur Varna system, the system of the four orders of life. There must be ideal first-class men to act as advisors, second-class men to act as administrators, third-class men to produce food and protect cows, and fourth-class men who obey the three higher classes of society. One who does not follow the standard system of society should be considered a fifth-class man. Well, this is very interesting where Prabhupada is saying a society concerned only with manufacturing new cars and new skyscrapers every year and breaking them into pieces and making new ones. Maybe technologically advanced, but it is not a human civilization. I mean, I work at Bank of America and I'm always seeing this, every bank they're doing something, they're breaking the concrete and making the roads bigger and digging and making a lot of noise and all that. So that shows, Prabhupada's purport, how they're, always we're breaking stuff and building new ones.
Their concern is playing the part of the Trinity, creating, sustaining, and destroying, like that. They're trying to act as those three roles.
Which is
Creating,
Creation, maintenance, destruction.
okay. Yeah, but Prabhupada, I think, is saying here they're doing it unnecessarily. It's not needed,
Right. My point is that they want to be Krishna, but they are not.
Okay. I see.
Like that's what the asuras do. They think, you know what I mean? They say, I want to be the enjoyer, or I'm the controller, like that. And they're just in Maya, And
Right. That's another example is that, okay, one more hit is two people are waiting. Chaitanya. Okay. We got, let's see over here. We got Mohit Prabhu in the house, and we have a new person named Chaitanya.
Joy.
Okay, Chaitanya Prabhu. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Can you introduce yourself? Where are you, and where you're from, and then how you came to know about this Zoom meetings, Istagosthis?
Yes, Prabhu, definitely. Hare Krishna Prabhu. Please accept my humble obeisances
Hi.
and Bhat Pranam. I am Krishna Chaitanya. I am from Vizag, Andhra Pradesh, India.
Jai.
Actually, I came to know about this YouTube channel through one video that is on the disappearance day of Prabhupada. I have seen that video.
Acha.
By that way, through that medium, I came to know about your YouTube channel. And one day I have seen some meeting, and in the description I found the WhatsApp chat link.
Right.
So through that way, I have joined your group, and I usually have so many doubts regarding Krishna consciousness, and I think this may be the one of the places that I can clear my doubts. That's why I have joined your group. And very thank you for creating such a place to clarify the doubts of various devotees.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
welcome.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Joy. That's a very nice observation.
Yes, so a little introduction about the devotees present here. We have Narayan Prabhu. He joined Srila Prabhupada in 1967, I think.
68.
Oh,
Yeah, 67, 68.
Well, I began to attend in 67.
Yeah, 67. Narayan Prabhu started attending the Rath Yatra, and then he officially joined in, what was it, August 1968? When was it?
September I was initiated.
September 1968.
September
And then-
20th, 68, I was initiated personally by Srila Prabhupada.
Yes, and then we have Rupa Manjari Prabhu also. She's been part of the Krishna consciousness movement also since 2005 or
Five.
something? 2005, yes. and she also has studied about cows, Prabhupada's books. She also has great insight on the legal documents like the direction of management and other things. Right, Rupa Manjari Prabhu?
Yes, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
And then we have Mohit Prabhu, he's also in India, in Jaipur. Mohit Prabhu.
True.
And then I'm here in Sacramento, California. Narayan Prabhu, myself, and Rupa Manjari Prabhu, we're in California. And the rest, Andrew Ananda Prabhu. How can we forget? Andrew Ananda Prabhu is also a very austere and advanced devotee. He's been practicing Krishna consciousness, reading Prabhupada's books. And his name is Andrew Nandadev.
I'm just a servant of the servant of
Right.
the servant.
All right. So Chaitanya Prabhu, you can ask a question if you have any. This is what this medium is for. If not, if you don't have any questions, we can continue our reading, and you can stop me anytime and ask your question anytime you like.
Yes, Prabhu, the basic question I have, that is how to increase the faith in Krishna consciousness. That's it.
Okay.
That is my basic question.
So how to increase your faith in Krishna consciousness. So we'll start off with Mohit Prabhu. How can we increase our faith in Krishna consciousness, Mohit Prabhu? You give Chaitanya Prabhu.
First of all, if you're chanting your rounds in the morning, surely Krishna will give you some or the other way. Through some devotee, you will get to know. Chanting is the most important part of Krishna consciousness. The first part, before taking knowledge, chanting, that too in the morning, right? Then you can ask for Kripa from your Guru, or from Prabhupada. You can go in front of the Prabhupada deities, just ask him for mercy. Mercy is all the play here. In material life, you have to boost egos of people to get something. Here, you have to just have the mercy. If you don't have the mercy, you can't have anything. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Rupa Manjari Prabhu, how about yourself? How can one increase their faith?
Coming to the Zoom meetings.
Haribol.
For having your ashray, surely Mataji. Yeah. Your ashray is superb. Yeah.
Right. Andrew Ananda Prabhu, how about yourself? Can you give a little insight in that question Prabhu asked, Chaitanya Prabhu asked?
Well, hearing and chanting the transcendental sound vibration of the holy name of Krishna, it's a test-proven method for developing love of Godhead. So it's a scientific process. If you chant Hare Krishna, even if you don't understand, that somebody doesn't understand what it means, there's still benefit from it either way. And just by developing consistent chanting, the heart becomes purified, yes, decontaminated. And in that way, it's like seeing a mirror covered in dust. That's false ego. But if we chant, it's like wiping all this dust away, and then we can see our true self clearly.
That's right.
Ramachandra Prabhu, I have an issue here. Hello.
Yes, Prabhu, go ahead. Yes, bolo.
When you say that we need to chant, but sometimes chanting takes a lot of hectic. I mean, people can't chant quality chanting, or they're chanting something else and their mind is something else. Auto-tune chanting. Can you just elaborate on that? How to control auto chanting, hearing, and
I also have the same doubt.
What, Prabhu? Chaitanya Prabhu?
Same doubt I also have, Prabhu, actually. Auto chanting
Right.
regarding what is that?
Where
He's
you
asking
chant
to-
without, where you
Actually,
chant
recently, during some soulful japa sessions by Pandit Prabhu, I think you know, Prabhu.
Madhu Bandidas Prabhu. Yeah. Please go ahead.
I haven't listened very much, but some of the snippets like that thing, I have listened. In that, some auto chanting, mindful japa, so many are there. I don't know. Actually, I have a doubt that they are really from the scriptures or according to the Prabhupada's instructions only, by his own. I don't know. That's why I need some clarity. Prabhu, you can provide and you can help me to understand all this.
Okay, Rupa Manjari Prabhu, go ahead.
Oh, I was just asking for, I was just clarifying that auto chanting is when you chant without paying attention to your chanting.
So,
Like mechanical chanting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Auto chanting is that you're chanting and you're listening to something else, or in your mind, it's something else. So, how to cure that and what are your thoughts? Please go ahead. Yeah. Hello.
yes, we're here, so we're listening. So how to cure the art of chanting? Well,
Yeah.
chanting, you should, like, it's a process of sadhana, so you don't, some set time has to be set for it, like you set your time for eating or doing something. So set a good time where where you can focus on it. Even if you cannot chant 16 rounds, try to chant at least 1 round, 2 round, 3 round, like this. So in this way, it's focused and not so many in the beginning. So start by, Prabhupada says, once the mind starts to go away, you bring it back to the sound vibration. So in the beginning, it's always going to, it's going to be like that. So if it starts to wander, you, as you're the soul, so you know that, okay, the mind is wandering and the chanting is not being heard. So you bring the mind back to hearing the
For
whole hymn.
having love for the chanting, right?
Yes.
Having that love and mercy for chanting, that is like you can have just for through kripa, right? You can just try. This is what you want to say, or keep on trying. Then ultimately one day it will happen. What are your thoughts on that? Yeah, Ramachandra Prabhu.
Well,
Very
practice
good.
makes perfect, like Prabhupada says, and one cannot become immediately Krishna conscious. At least in my journey, I started by listening for many, couple of years, 3-4 years. I was listening to Prabhupada's classes, conversations. So this gave me an insight to what actually Krishna consciousness is. It's a personal philosophy. Krishna is a person. The living entities are part and parcel, and the individuals. So my thing is that one should hear from the pure devotee. First comes a little faith, shraddha, then sadhu sangha. Sadhu sangha is already there. Srila Prabhupada, the pure devotee, is there. So many conversations, tapes, videos. So try, every day to watch one of these here, and then think about what Prabhupada is saying, and read his books. Associate with devotees who have in a similar mood, and then ask questions like you're doing now.
Prabhu, yesterday was Paniyati festival.
Try.
Hara? Any Nararayan, ask Nararayan Prabhu for any, any pastimes on this day with Prabhupada. Haribol. Please, Prabhu.
I'm sorry?
Prabhu,
You said?
any pastimes for the Panihati festival?
Well, I think the greatest pastime I ever noticed that Prabhupada entirely engaged others, all of us, in chanting and engaged others in discussing. This movement grew not because a few people came together for their own personal, perhaps selfish enlightenment. This movement came out when people realized that if you can broadcast the holy name, you will become advanced in that same process. So I would say that if we start with Lord Chaitanya broadcast out the holy name without any restriction. And he didn't need to do that. He was under no obligation whatsoever because he himself is Krishna. Why should Krishna oblige himself to chant for people? But Lord Chaitanya wanted to create a means by which those who had some potential for advancement to escape from this material atmosphere before the end of the age of Kali. Age of Kali is going to be horrible. Trees will have fruits that don't have fruit, it's just skin and seed. No herbivorous creatures, only carnivorous people will be eating each other as they do sometimes on Earth, even now when there's a famine. And yet we still have the rest of the 10,000 years of the golden age of Kali so that we can make a front of genuine invitation to each jiva, whether or not they're human or animal or vegetable or insect or whatever they are, invite them all to take part in their original consciousness, which is surrendering to Krishna. Remember, even the bug, even the ant, is a jiva, just like us. Different body, same nature, same size. We're all infinitesimal. So that because of that, we can bring about a transformation on the earth to make this 10,000 years of the golden age of Kali so wonderful and productive that people will see that they can go back to Godhead. And at the end of this 10,000 years, it would be very nice if hundreds of millions, if not billions, of jivas go back to God, are produced to be pure devotees and go back to Godhead by the end of this time. But that doesn't come about by us trying to become pure devotees ourselves. This comes up by us representing the pure devotee, Prabhupada, who we don't need more gurus until the end of Kali, golden age of Kali. And what we need is to follow the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, and whoever is doing that, broadcasting the holy name here and there, will have accomplished a great deal for all of us, not just us, but then when we have accomplished and taken care of by Lord Chaitanya, now that's when we open our eyes, our minds, our hearts, and our arms to involve every other jiva, wherever you can find them. And there are plenty of them around, even in your own body. Millions of germs, start making them Krishna conscious. Be conscious of making the germs in your body Krishna conscious. Because if we're just out for ourselves, oh, you'll go back to Godhead someday. But if you want to go back to Godhead quickly, forget about your going back to Godhead. Become interested in the ants and the horses and the cows and the grass and the birds and the trees. Have them, be anxious for them to go back to Godhead. Can you imagine how eager Krishna will be to have your direct association if you do that? And can you imagine how ho-hum it'll be for Krishna if he is aware that we're just trying to save ourselves? Hurry me, hurry me, hurry me, hurry me, hurry me, hurry me. You know, that isn't going to help. That's wonderful, but you have to outgrow it. And if you want to outgrow it in the golden age of Kali, you've got 9,500 more years to outgrow it in. If you want to go outgrow it in this conversation, in this Zoom call, well, then you'll be set for going back to Godhead by taking everyone else back to Godhead first. If we want everyone but me to take them back to Godhead, guess who Krishna will pick up first? You will be picked up first, if that's your mood. You see, that's the transformation we require. We're not like Christians or Muslims or Jews or anybody else. We're not here to save ourselves. We're not here for salvation. We're here to deliver the others. If we can deliver the others, we will be first in line to be delivered ourselves. Is that okay? You like?
Chaitanya Prabhu, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking? Your body, not the soul. You sound like you're 20.
Yes, bro. My body is 20 years old.
20? Oh, wow.
20 years old. Yes, bro.
Yeah,
Wow.
that was a good guess.
As I'm studying engineering third year, bro.
Huh? What did you say?
Engineering third year.
Studying engineering third year.
Oh, engineering third year. Oh, very good.
Mechanical, bro?
No, bro. Electronics and communication.
Very good.
Yeah.
Ramachandra, bro, if we have to measure the age of a soul, how do we measure it? Anything?
You know the
10,000
answer to
years?
that question. So very good, Prabhu. You're here. You're always welcome here. Anyone else who's watching our Zoom conversations on Facebook, on YouTube, please click on the WhatsApp link on the bottom, and you can also come in like Chaitanya Prabhu and ask your questions. This is an open Istagosthi forum. Anyone can join from any background, and it doesn't Doesn't matter if you're Christian, Muslim, Hindu, or whatever, anyone can join and talk from the spiritual soul, your realization. Okay, Chaitanya Prabhu, any other questions? Have you read any of Prabhupada's books?
Yes, bro. Very few I have read.
Okay,
Actually,
very good.
actually, I am not a good reader. Listener also.
If you're not a good reader, then you can hear Prabhupada's audio or video.
Yes, bro.
You know? So
So
in
go
this
for
way,
Vani Media videos. Vani Media is a great platform there. It's direct from Prabhupada. Go for
Yeah.
those videos, small videos that will interest you a lot.
Definitely.
I'll
Bro.
send you the link. Yeah, bro?
yes. Chaitanya Prabhu, are you in the WhatsApp group?
Yes, Prabhu.
Are you in the WhatsApp group that we have,
Yes, bro.
Istagosthi group? Okay,
Istagosthi group. I am in it.
very good. Okay. So you can ask more questions if you like, or we can continue our reading.
Yes, bro. We can continue our reading.
Okay, let's start reading again. All right. Where is it? I was looking. This is a pretty interesting quote. I was looking at a quote by Srila Prabhupada. Where is it? Srila Prabhupada says here, I'll highlight it. A spiritual master is always liberated. In any condition of his life, he should not be mistaken as an ordinary human being. This position of a spiritual master is achieved by three processes. One is called sadhana siddha. That means one who is liberated by executing the regulated principles of devotional service. Another is kripa siddha, one who is liberated by the mercy of Krishna or his devotee. And one is nitya siddha, who is never forgetful of Krishna throughout his whole life. These are the three features of the perfection of life.
Nice.
Then Srila Prabhupada goes on to say about Narada Muni. So far Narada Muni is concerned, in his previous life he was a maidservant's son, but by the mercy of the devotees he later on became Siddha, and next life he appeared as Narada with complete freedom to move anywhere by the grace of the Lord. So even though he was in his previous life a maidservant's son, there was no impediment in the achievement of his perfect spiritual life. Similarly, any living entity who is conditioned can achieve the perfectional stage of life by the above-mentioned processes, and the vivid example is Narada Muni.
So can you explain this more? I've heard several times, but I can't remember it right now. That Narad Muni's mother, she told her to take the remnants of the gurus, right, acharyas, and then he took those remnants, and through that he got the kripa, right? And then his mother died. He was in touch. He was in love with his mother. When his mother died, and that's the whole process. Can you just elaborate more, right? Because I haven't had the revision again. Yeah.
Yes, Narayan Prabhu, do you remember how Narada Muni became Narada Muni, his previous life when he was a son of a maidservant?
Yeah, it's interesting because her
Well-
mother died and then he went for the something was there. So please. Yeah.
Well, it's a complicated path. I don't know where all the connections are.
Okay.
But when he was a child, in the maidservant, mother of maidservant was a maidservant, but she wasn't just, mopping the floors of some rich man's house. She was a maidservant waiting hand and foot on Bhaktivedantas.
Right.
Bhaktivedantas means pure devotees of the Lord who were all Uttama Adhikaris, and there was quite a group of them. I don't know exactly how many there were, but I would say definitely, probably around at least 30 of them. And they were in the assembly under a roof, where they normally were wandering here and there and everywhere. So they were under a roof. Because it was during the monsoon, it was heavy rain. So these Bhaktivedantas crowded together under the roof were waited on by Narada Muni's mother, and Narada Muni, as a little child, would run in and essentially do things similar to what Krishna did when he was teasing the yogis who were trying to meditate on the Supreme. There comes the Supreme and pulls their beard, and they get annoyed because they're meditating on the Supreme. So these Bhaktivedantas that were far more advanced than those yogis, they were discussing Krishna's childhood pastimes. And you might say, well, anybody who's read the Prabhupada's Krishna book, any child can tell you Prabhupada's Krishna's childhood pastimes. So from the material point of view, from our point of view, we could say, so what's the big deal with Krishna's childhood pastimes? Why would these sages, pure devotees, Bhaktivedantas means like Prabhupada, they have reached the perfection of every aspect of spiritual life. And so what happens is, when they were discussing Krishna's pastimes, there's something that needs to be understood by us. When a pure devotee says Krishna is stealing butter and giving it to monkeys, we can say, oh, ho hum, I heard that when I was 5 years old in the Gurukul, No. When Krishna is stealing butter and giving to monkeys, he is seeing it occur in it's because he's a pure devotee. When he utters Krishna's pastime is absolutely kinetically and perfectly present. So he is there describing, but what about the Bhaktivedanta sitting next to him? He also knows that Krishna steals butter and gives it to monkeys. But he is understood it from his own unique way, because each jiva in his relation to Krishna, and remember, there's unlimited of us, jivas, in relation to Krishna, each one hearing those pastimes will not hear something that the whole group says, oh yeah, I know, I remember. No, that's material thinking. Each jiva experiences this pastime. So one says Krishna is stealing butter and giving to monkeys, then one next to is gasping. At that way he said it is different than the way he would have said it. And when he says it, the one next is also gasping. So they were doing something which Prabhupada describes, at least in his first canto, before Hayagriva edited it, which Prabhupada encouraged him to do, by the way. The word is turpolating. Turpolating means vibrating in sympathetic vibration. One would be discussing the pastimes in such ecstasy that he would be, his whole existence and conscious existence would be vibrating, just like a trance, he would be entranced by the pastime. And the Bhaktivedanta sitting next to him would be caught up in his vibration, and he would begin to vibrate. His vibration would affect the first person's vibration. And what to speak about the other 30, they were all vibrating, hearing these pastimes from one another that we think is okay in Krishna book, but why these Bhaktivedantas, they were experiencing ecstasy that we cannot even begin to imagine. And that was what turpolating was. The way you can understand it, if you have a musical background, is sometimes you can take a stringed instrument and pluck the string, and if that string is well tuned with other tunings of stringed instruments around the room, you pluck on that and one of the other strings will begin to vibrate, because the vibration goes through the air at a certain frequency in a way. This is material, by the way. It goes through the air in a certain way, vibrates the other string, which is also tuned to that same vibration, and that string begins to vibrate back again. So you can imagine that sort of cat's cradle of vibrations taking place between ordinary orchestra instruments. What to speak of this situation? The Bhaktivedantas in transcendental ecstasy uttering. So this is what Narada Muni was in the middle of. He was hearing these Bhaktivedantas discussing. How could a child, anybody, how could a mouse or an ant or a rat, how could any creature not become filled with transcendental ecstasy, hearing these pastimes being discussed in such a way that there was no way to not hear? They were hearing because there was no way to not hear, because when one was vibrating, nobody wanted to not miss those words of Krishna stealing butter and giving it to monkeys, because, you know, and you have to remember one thing about Krishna's pastimes, and particularly in that association of Bhaktivedanta, is that there's no time in Krishna Loka. You might say, wait a minute, people are walking around and doing things. People are associating, they're talking. That all takes time. But I would like to say, please understand, that is not the case. In the spiritual platform, what we take to be time on earth in our crude imitations of being devotees or being conscious living beings, whatever, in our stupid pus, blood, stool, urine, so many nice things, bodies, that each pastime is defined by if Krishna steals butter, okay, how much time does it take? He's always stealing butter. He's never not stealing butter. But what does he do with it? Well, what's the next thing you might do with it? He could eat it, he could throw it away, he could do this, but he gives it to monkeys. So when Krishna steals butter and gives to monkeys, he's always stealing butter, always giving to monkeys. So you can tune in to any nanosecond, if such things existed and don't in the spiritual world. You can tune in and experience the fact that Krishna's pastimes are always happening. There is no gap. And the only thing that determines whether he steals money and butter and gives it to monkeys is that's where he gives it. So that's what drives the wagon, not time, not opportunity. Maybe on Earth planet, when Krishna did these pastimes, it may have seemed more like that, but not in Krishna Loka. Okay, so then the Bhaktivedantins were chanting and they were reciting these pastimes with no time factor involved. Everyone was eternally situated in the eternal pastimes in ecstasy. And Narada Muni was associating with these Bhaktivedantins. Being a child, he would run in. Maybe he pulled their beards, who knows? I don't know. But he came in and became involved. Therefore, after his mother died, and the monsoon was over, and the Bhaktivedantins went back to God knows where, forest or wherever they were living before the monsoon was over. He went off as what is called, Prabhupada refers to in the Bhagavatam, first canto, Paravrajacharya. One devotee that I really liked was named Paravrajacharya Swami. Paravrajacharya means going here, there, and everywhere, engaged in the service of Krishna. In other words, it's a wandering person who has no destination, has no source of where he came from. He is just going here, there, and everywhere in the present tense of ecstasy. Okay? So he was like that. He went out, Parvajacharya. And as he did, he went over hill, he got older and older. He went over hill and dale, wandering. He didn't take sannyas or somebody gave me, so who is the Diksha Guru, all that crap. No, he was a Parvajacharya. And he has empowered by these Bhaktivedantins, as are we, and he went out, and wherever he went, he experienced transcendental ecstasy. There's one part where he comes to a sort of a large, like a cliff or something like that, and he could look down into villages. And Prabhupada describes, there he saw, it took me 100 readings of this before I got the actual point of what was said in these words. He looked down into these villages, and there the women were hanging saris on the clothesline to dry. There were men with cows milking them. There were other men with scythes cutting the wheat. There were other people building adobe houses or straw houses. And then Prabhupada put in the word, which I missed so many times, which was, as in every kalpa. As in every kalpa. So here we are. Oh, when did the Neanderthals begin to mate with Cro-Magnon men? And when did people start developing pottery and flints to put on their house? Give me a break. Narada Muni looked down on those people that were there as in every kalpa. Kalpa means every 4 yugas is a kalpa. 4 yugas. We're in Kali Yuga of all places. What a place to be stuck. But we have the holy name to deliver every jiva here on planet Earth, or every planet for that matter. Anywhere that people can get the vibration, they'll be delivered by us, by you. You will do it. I'm too old. I'm going to die someday. Who knows when? But you can do it, and your grandchildren can do it, and others can do it. And those who are now ants can become humans and do it. Those who are now monkeys can become humans and do it. That's what we're doing here. That's the league for golden age of Kali, 10,000 years. We're in the last part of the 10,000 years, 500 years since Lord Chaitanya. Now we can deliver. So anyhow, getting back to the story.
Yes, we got some new guests joining us. We got Narendra from Mauritius Prabhu, Nishinga Prabhu.
Wonderful.
We have Mahaprabhu, and we have another guest that had joined us, Manoj K. What is his name? Patanayaka?
Patnaik, it's Patnaik.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, may I continue now?
Let's not continue too much. We got devotees that have more questions. So
Well, you let them have questions about something they can never even imagine asking questions about.
okay, go ahead.
What is being said is not just me going on and on. I'm revealing what I read in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam about Narada Muni, who you asked about. Now you're finding out about Narada Muni multidimensionally. There's a couple of more parts. So he said, as an Avikalpa, you're looking down over all of, are you catching this? Or are you just thinking about and just talking, you don't give a crap what I'm saying? If you look down and see, look through the eyes of Narada Muni, what he saw. Never mind me, I'm nobody. Look through Narada Muni's eyes and see. After he had been with the Bhaktivedanta, his mother died, and he went out Parvajakacharya. He's looking down as an Avikalpa, as in every yuga, as in every day of your life and my life. If you're married, your wife is putting your clothes up to hang up to dry, or putting them in the dryer, as the case may be. So anyhow, so then after he did all of that, he sat down and he was meditating, chanting. As he was chanting, Lord Vishnu appeared. Lord Vishnu appeared to him. And as Lord Vishnu appeared, this is Paramatma, came out and stood before Narada Muni. Narada Muni did what any red-blooded person would do. What's that? He did a double take. There's immediately, of course, Lord Vishnu vanished. Narada Muni was so anxious to have that perception of Lord Vishnu that he leaped off the ground and began running around to the bushes and everywhere to see if he could find him. So this should give us some idea of how Narada Muni, even so exalted, was still essentially the Madhyamadikari. And when Lord Vishnu appeared, that is because Vishnu guides the Madhyamadikari to the Uttama platform. And that's what we're doing here. And so the Narada Muni looked for Vishnu, and then he sat down in great depression because he realized he had blown it. Instead of just accepting Vishnu, he looked for Vishnu, which was his ego trying to pursue someone who is not subject to anyone's ego. name of Vishnu. Okay, so that's what happened. Later on, he became the son of Brahma, the creator of the whole universe. And from then on, he became Parvajakacharya once again, except this time through the universe with his instrument of string that Prabhupada describes, which is a veena, playing the instrument, or it plays itself.
No,
And that's
Prabhu.
where, what?
We got another devotee named Manoj. Can he introduce himself, or you want to keep talking?
Why? I'm almost finished.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you mind? Do you mind? Otherwise, I can get off the call if you don't like what I'm saying.
No, it's a lot of people are here. I wanted to get them introduced.
You will have your opportunity. I guarantee you. Okay, but right now I'm talking about transcendental things from the transcendental platform, which should be interesting, at least marginally, to some people on this call. So that's what we're here for, isn't it? Transcendental, not just chit chat. We're not just introducing. We want to know who these people are, but not at the expense of finishing the pastime of Narada Muni. So Narada Muni then became Parvajakacharya. That's when he came in contact with Valmiki, who then wrote the Ramayana and stuff like that. He goes all over. He converted. He preached to Prahlad Maharaja's mother, Hiranyakashipu's wife, in the womb. He got involved with Krishna in the womb of Devaki. So that's what he did once he reached his perfection, and you can too. That's my main point. That's what it comes down to. And now, Prabhu, please do introduce everyone else.
Okay, so we have Manoj Prabhu. Can you introduce yourself, Manoj Prabhu? How you got in contact with the Istagosthi group here, and where are you from, and where are you now?
Yes, I am currently in Bangalore, India. So basically, I belong to a Vaishnavite family.
Very good.
Yeah. So I have a keen interest in those topics, like to understand Krishna and get new things, get more understanding. So, I mean, I saw it, the program is going on YouTube, and instantly I just attracted. I saw. So I like people like come into groups to discuss about God, Krishna. So that's it.
Oh, very
It's
good.
nice to meet you.
Thanks.
So if you're in Bangalore, does that mean with the Akshaya Patra group or with the ISKCON group or all by yourself?
No, like I'm staying in Bangalore. There is nothing like I have connected to some groups. Yeah, but I frequently visit to ISKCON temple here. Sometimes donate, but not like in, I mean, in some groups I have not joined in permanently.
Achha.
Jai, Haribol Prabhu. So you're welcome here anytime. We have our Zoom meetings Wednesdays and Saturdays and Sundays for about 2 hours. And then we have our group where you can participate, also ask your questions. And Narayan Prabhu is also available. You can call him anytime. Me also. We have other devotees who've been practicing Krishna consciousness. You can feel free to express your doubts, concerns, share your realizations in this group.
Yes,
So
sure.
why not, Ramachandra, why not explain the nature of Istagosthi and how it differs from a class in a temple?
Yes, a class in a temple is on a specific verse, and they speak from that verse and they share their realization. Here in the Istagosthi group, you speak as a spiritual living entity, which you are, spirit soul. I am spirit soul. You speak according to your realization, wherever you are in your spiritual life. If you have a question, you speak from whatever level you are on, and the devotees here can answer your question, or they can get realization from your answers.
Hare
Yes.
Krishna.
Hare
Right.
Mahaprabhu is
Haribol.
here too. Jai. Narendra Prabhu, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Unmute yourself.
Who?
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Haribol.
Haribol, nice to meet you here again
Haribol.
after some long time in Mauritius.
Nishinga. Jai.
Yeah, I'm actually I'm trying to work out something for devotees care and Varnashrama.
Jai.
Yeah,
Haribol, Haribol,
some
Jai.
devotees. We have one devotee in America. He's on the verge of death. He's very sick, and he has a ranch, a ranch for horses, like a farm in a
Oh.
remote place. In a remote place, yes.
Where?
He need help. Actually, I gave the detail to Ronald Prabhu,
Yeah.
Ramchandra Prabhu. Yeah.
Yes.
Where is the ranch?
I'll find out.
So
I'll find out.
yeah. Prabhu will give you more details on that.
Prabhu is
And
standing in the power.
also here in Mauritius, I want to start up something for the devotees. So if anyone interested can please help, and we can keep contact and try to do something. Thank you.
Jai.
Hare
Krishna.
Narendra Prabhu, you're familiar with this book here? I'll show you on the screen. We're reading by what book is it?
Hare Krishna Devi Dasi.
By Hare Krishna Devi Dasi, and it's on Varnashram. So I want to share that with you so you can see.
Yes, please send me a link, and I'll check it out.
Yes.
And yes. Also, whatever project we have, I want to share it with you. Maybe we can we can work something for devotees, because there's very less devotees care in ISKCON and other institutions also. So that was Prabhupada's wish also. I think it's a good service. We can share all.
Narendra Prabhu, the old man that you said is in poor health, is he interested in donating his ranch for Varnashram?
Maybe, because I think Ronald Prabhu, Ramchandra Prabhu will contact him, and they can talk directly. He is actually in a confusion, either to sell it or, because he has a family also. So he's more interested in selling it than giving it up, like that. Yeah.
Okay, I'll find out. He sent me the link to the devotee, and then I'll figure things out, and I'll report back to the devotees here. How about that?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
So Narendra, no, not Narendra Sohan Prabhu. It's Nishinga Prabhu. This is the book we were reading. I'll share the screen with you now. So you see here, it is 1 second, right here.
Okay.
You see it on your screen? Varnashram
Yes.
Dharma. So you can see here all the letters.
Yes, maybe you can send me by
Yes, Prabhu.
On Messenger, Prabhu, please.
Yes, I'll send it to you. So we were reading this. So we'll continue our reading unless anyone has any questions. Prabhus? Okay, then we'll continue our reading.
Thank you.
Jai. Okay. So, anyone have any questions? I'm just loading the book. So, in the meantime, they can ask. Please, go ahead.
Oh,
Unmute
one
yourself and
question.
speak.
Shall I ask one question?
Yes, probably. Go ahead. Yes, this is the medium for that, to express questions, doubts, whatever you like.
Sure. So, I mean, I think many chapters have already been covered, and I was watching in YouTube. Sometimes the voice was not that clear. So, just trying to understand, like, what is the reason, like, we are trying to go through this book, Varnashrama Dharma? Is it like for common men to have, follow Karma Yoga?
We're trying to establish some self-sufficient farms wherever we are located. And this book is a compilation of Srila Prabhupada's quotes talking about Varnashram Dharma, which is self-sufficient farming. So we're basically learning from this book and applying what we're learning to our plans for creating farms communities.
No, shall we not say also, can you hear me? Am I muted? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello?
Yes,
Okay.
we can hear you.
So not only farm community or with cows, but 4 Varnas, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, but not a class division society, but a class functional society. Like the Brahmins would be Lord Jagannath's head, the arms are the Kshatriyas or Lord Jagannath's arms, the Vaishyas, Lord Jagannath's very hungry belly, and then the support force is the Shudras, which are not low class, but the legs of Lord Jagannath, who one time in the year after Rath Yatra, they get covered in gold shanks because Lakshmi needs to be tricked into letting Jagannath back in the temple. So what I'm really pointing out is that everybody in the Varnashrams, Dava Varnashram is not the same thing as caste system. Dava Varnashram means everyone is initiated disciple of Prabhupada. Everyone will be a disciple of Prabhupada in the Dava Varnashram system. And therefore, any division is simply functional and practical, not higher or lower than somebody else. And we should understand that in case of Shudras, who are hardworking people, in every society, including American or European, Russian, Indian, any society, it all becomes like a pyramid, where I like to joke that the purpose of the Vedic system is to feed the Shudras, because there's more Shudras than anybody else. So that gives you an idea of the tremendous support group that the Vaishyas will have, the Kshatriyas will have, and the Brahmins will have, insofar as they need help in doing their dharmic activity. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes. The people in different job and different castes, how can they follow dharma and do Krishna Bhakti? So that is the core. Yeah. If I understood correctly.
Well, everyone has a certain propensity. Not everyone likes to stand there with a bow and arrow waiting for invaders to attack the community. A lot of people would rather be farming or milking cows or weaving cloth or cooking sumptuous feasts. Because in Daiva Varnashram communities, if they're limited to a few hundred to a few thousand people, well, then you get a very wonderful situation where everyone is interrelated and providing for one another in such a way that everyone becomes Krishna conscious and everyone has housing, no money will be required, no televisions will be required. Everyone will be happily living according to his own ability to create wealth, meaning grains wealth, not money wealth. And if gold is present, it will be made into ornaments for the deities and made into ornaments for the different women, the wives that live in that community. So it's not that we're going to use gold to hoard and to enslave others. Okay?
Narayan, Narendra Prabhu wrote a question that he would like for you to answer. And his question is this: can we build a platform for this type of Varnashram Dharma with a legal structure?
It has to. Because if you don't have a legal structure, there'll be no way to understand what you're supposed to do and not do. Then you could have power groups forming in the community. You get people who have more assets trying to lord it over people that have fewer assets. None of those things are desirable, you know?
Yeah.
Prabhu, but before building this type of society which is divided into this Varnashrama, people should have this moral righteousness inside them because otherwise the same type of corruption will prevail everywhere. The Kshatriya will be more tyrant and the Sudras will be more helpless. So don't you think like first Krishna consciousness, then like building a society which is beautiful and which will be serving and helpful to every person in the society would be great? So right now I'm telling is like this the society divided into different classes without this moral righteousness inside them. That would be that would not be correct at this point of time in this world.
Are you saying that the education is missing? The first one must become educated, then the system needs to be implemented. Is that what you're saying, Manoj Prabhu?
Yes.
Yes, that's why we're reading these books and then asking these questions. And naturally that 4 divisions is already there, but it's not scientifically presented like Prabhupada's books is presented. So that needs to be studied. So that's
Okay.
what you're talking about the educational aspect.
Okay, got it. Thanks, Prabhu.
Narendra, was your question answered, or do you want to ask a follow-up question? You can unmute yourself, Prabhu.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay, unmuted. Okay, I don't know what happened to my video. It vanished.
Hello, Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Can you hear me, Prabhu?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes, my question is whether we have to like unite with other devotees and get support, or can we do it ourselves? How Prabhuji would advise us so that we can work out a framework for this type of project. Yeah.
May I offer a thought? May I offer a...
Yes, Narayan Prabhu, go ahead, yes.
Okay. Let's consider that it doesn't start with people. It starts with Lord Jagannath. I recommend each of these communities should be worshiping Jagannath because that's what they did in Puri. And so successfully, the Prabhupada said, 50,000 men can walk into the temple of Puri, sit down, and they will be fed. Unexpectedly arriving. That's how powerful the temple was in gathering foodstuffs and preparing it. So we have to, first of all, start with Lord Jagannath, with Brahmins, with temple worship, and temple cooking. No one should have to cook. So everyone will be fed. After the Brahmins have established deity worship, the community comes and worships there, then people will find themselves branching out into the type of activity that they like best. So most people like to work with their hands. That's just the way it is in the whole world. There's no part where they don't. Not everyone wants to be a Brahmin and never work with his hands. But in the temple, they work with their hands. The Brahmins do by cooking. And they do it by also when the Vaishyas create so many things like saris and ghee and whatnot, it's all given to the Brahmins in the temple who then feed and supply everyone with all the things they need. So it's a Krishna down organization. Krishna's at the top, he's the Lord, he's the boss, he's in charge. And you go to see him and you say, thank you, Krishna, and let me continue to offer to you everything, not something, not 10%, everything, and serve you with my life, everything in my life, with my wife and children, everything. I will serve you everything. When that takes place and everyone is doing the same thing in that same mode, then it'll be very easy to divide up the work according to activity. If you have people with their cars parked on the lawn and televisions and TV antennas sticking out of the roof, no, that will never work, because that'll just become a bunch of Graham 80s, once again, trying to lord it over the material nature. So we don't want to lord it over material nature. We want to serve everyone, and we want to become servants of the cows. The main thing is to become servant of the cow, because the cow is one of our 7 mothers. So if we have a mother cow, it's not that the cow is going to be protected by us. Well, yes, the cow is protected by us, but we don't own the cows. The cows own us. What
Yes,
child is
Prabhuji.
going to say, I own my mother, when child could say, I'm owned by my mother?
Yes, Prabhuji. One
Go
more
ahead.
question about it. May I ask you?
Yes.
It's about how the mechanism would work. It's about how people will be like, if anybody have any issue in staying or in a temple or in a farm, or they can stay at home and do their own job and help the temple and things like that. Whether there will be a platform that will facilitate these people to come to Krishna conscious, to come to that level
I
of.
understand your question. That's very wonderful. Your question is superb. It's a fantastic question, and I thank you. In the early days of ISKCON, there was no problem. You had a temple, maybe 10, 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 devotees in the temple. They were all serving the deity. They were all surrendered to Prabhupada. They were all surrendered to their devotional service. They all called each other Prabhu or Master. And so everyone was felt free, and everyone got what they needed. We were living in Vedic communism in the early days. What was that communism? From each according to his ability. We all did service, to each according to his need. We took prasadam, got clothing, got a place to sleep, got a place to take bath. And nobody questioned it. It was just sublime. It was an excellent thing. Now the temples have become a little bit more like churches. They're more structured and more oppressive. But it doesn't have to be that in Type of Varnasrum. In fact, it can't be. Now, about housing, probably the best housing will be to get groups of people to make one big lodge, have a whole bunch of these, big lodge with thatched roof and bamboo walls, or wherever the climate is, mud brick, adobe walls. And people live inside in that one big building and divide up rooms inside for each family. And it's maybe that the men will be living a little separately and the women will live with the children or together. We don't know. But that has to be studied and understood and followed when we understand what Prabhupada wanted. But if you do it like that, you won't have the problems you're thinking of, because the problems you're having of thinking of is for the Shudra wants to become the Kshatriya. I want this, I want that, I have rights, I have privilege, I deserve more, give me liberty or give me death, that whole thing. Well, you have liberty. Look what you did with it. You've taken shelter of Varnasrum Dharma because your liberty destroyed your life. Everything in America right now is being destroyed by liberty. People are taking liberties with liberty. It's horrible what's happening here. Horrible, beyond imagination, jaw-dropping, horrible. We can't even measure how horrible it is. Not that everybody's life is disturbed now, but the cloud overhead is horrible, and it's coming closer. So that's what we need. That's why that cloud coming overhead is the root cause of Type of Varnasrum. We create that as an alternative, as people go crazier in America and Europe and other places, or Africa, India, we create communities, 10,000 acres, water, and start growing the Desi cow, culturing the Desi cows, who we worship as our mother, not own as our cattle. Does that give any sense of, I mean, what would you do? Let me ask you, what would you do to make everyone work together beautifully if it's not Lord Jagannath?
I would actually do what you are saying, but in the same way, at the same time, I would have make something like a unity program, so that people can have their issues solved in a way that they can find their own solutions. Give them the facilities that they can
in group meetings, right?
Yes, like a connection, the connection like a website for devotees and for non-devotees.
Yeah, but do you know what Prabhupada called that sort of meeting?
I did not catch you.
Ramachandra, do you want to tell Prabhu?
I'm here, yes.
Narendra, Prabhu, can you tell him what that meeting is called for resolving the type of problems?
Well,
GBC
I would say,
meeting.
I would say Istagosthi.
This is that meeting right now. You're in it. You're part of the meeting that you're looking for. This is it. It's called Istagosthi, or gathering or circle of cowherd boys. They sit in a circle in Krishna Loka or Vrindavan, India, and Krishna is sitting with them as an equal to the cowherd boys. He's God and they're not. No, they're cowherd boys and he's a cowherd boy when he's playing. He doesn't lord it over his fellow cowherd boys, even though they're part and parcel of him, just like you and I are part and parcel of Krishna. We're all part and parcel of Krishna. So therefore, in this atmosphere of Istagosthi, you speak frankly from your highest intelligence as Jiva and come to the conclusion that will be best from the point of view of Jiva. Each of us is a spirit soul, not a greedy material body that wants to capitalize on other people's labor. You see? And if we have a disagreement, well, we sit down and we speak as soul until we come to the balanced understanding amongst us all that we can live as long as I see you as Prabhu, then there's no problem. When I see you as my servant, then there's a big problem. Who wants to be servant? We want to be servant because we want to be servant, not because somebody else forces us to be servant. So that's a Istagosthi. We become servant of the servant of the servant, 10,000 times the servant of you. I become your servant. I am your servant 10,000 times.
I wish to be.
That's how we resolve. That's how we will resolve conflicts of any type. And what's the conflict over? Women, there will be some conflict. Obviously, sometimes you're brahmachari, so I shouldn't even bring it up.
About
conflict over food, over living quarters, over what housing. I mean, all these things will be provided. You don't have to buy a house.
Prabhuji,
you'll live in a community. Lord Jagannath will own everything.
Narendra, he's trying to say something.
Okay, what is he trying to say?
Yes, what I'm asking is how are we going to structure it and put it in practice as Srila Prabhupada has given us instruction and given the institution ISKCON, but it's not working that way. Instead of doing the job, they are just looking for their own benefits. So
yes,
I think
but that's not Prabhupada's idea. Prabhupada's idea for the GBC is not a tyrannical board like cardinals of the Catholic Church. Prabhupada's idea for GBC was temple president elected from a panel, from a ballot of 10, maybe 30 temple presidents, to elect 12 to be GBC for 3 years. That takes all the conflict out of it.
Yes,
And
let's
so
say
you
we
have
can't.
GBC
Let's say,
lording it over others. That's not Prabhupada. That's not Krishna consciousness, and that's not who we are either.
yes,
That's not
let's
who
say,
you are either.
yeah. Let's say we can't work with their structure. So can we start up something like that and do it a new system that according to Srila Prabhupada and yourself,
Yes.
so that
Yes, why not?
we can all together bring
Prabhu-
our contribution to that.
Prabhupada is spiritual master of all of us. He's even spiritual master of the GBC, although they don't like to admit it. They think he's dead and buried in Vrindavan, but they don't like that Prabhupada is master. But I can say Prabhupada is master of the GBC. He created the GBC in 1970 with a document called the Direction of Management as the GBC is elected by the temple presidents. That means that the common man in the temple is the real Lord of ISKCON.
Because he votes.
Yes. So
Yes,
we
but-
need to turn it around. Prabhupada said he did not want a hierarchy. That's what ISKCON has become. He said we want it to be opposite of the Catholic Church. Everything depends on the lowest level of the society, not the highest aristocratic ones that wear crowns on their heads and stride around and put others to death. Which is what ISKCON will end up doing if they go far enough.
Mhm.
Well, they already do it, of course, but I'm talking about like an inquisition where they take whole groups of people and burn them at the stake. That could happen with ISKCON, the direction they're going. So we need to go a direction which Prabhupada wants, and this is it. This is what Prabhupada really wants. If you don't believe it, read Prabhupada. If you don't believe it, talk to people associated with Prabhupada. And then if that doesn't work, talk to somebody who has common sense. Worship,
Yes.
having Lord Jagannath as the Lord of your community is common sense. I mean, who else can be Lord of a 10,000 people or 5,000 people except Krishna as Lord Jagannath? Who could do it? Some guy, little elected guy for 3 years, 4 years term as president of the Varnashram? I don't think so.
So Prabhuji,
yeah.
I won't elaborate too much. I would just like to tell you, maybe if we can start work on the structure. I would like to share with Ramachandra Prabhu and other devotees. Maybe we have to keep the Istagosthi like a meeting and discuss about it, and we can put things in place.
Yes, I would like you to know that we're gradually building what will become a book or a workbook. What is Varnasrum Dharma? What is it, Type of Varnasrum? What is it based on? How does it function? What do the different Varnas do? How do they do it? Is there ratio? Is there class distinction? The answer is no. Is there class division according to work? The answer is yes. And what do the Vaishyas do? Oh, they take care of the cows. You think they're going to milk all the cows? No, the Shudras are going to help milk the cows. My God, look at that shape. I don't know if you can see it. This is like a pyramid. All those Shudras at the bottom, they want to eat. They want to have nice houses. They want saris for their wives. They want to educate their children. And besides which, a Shudra is a Shudra because of what he does. He may have a child that is a tremendous reader and wants to read Prabhupada's books. He could become a Brahmin. There's no distinction, difference. You have to be a Shudra. Shudras are just a status of life that most people gravitate towards in the whole world. Look at India, for instance. Look at anywhere. Look at Africa. Look at Africa, strange. But anyway, look all over the world. You'll see everyone gravitates, and most people gravitate to be auto mechanics, carpenters, bricklayers, Why? Why aren't they all educators? Very few are educators. Very few are the top thinkers in society, the top scientists in society. Very few. And then military, well, in today's world, the military are there to protect the interests of the corrupted Vaishyas who are trying to exploit everybody. But we would take the principle of spiritual, Prabhupada called it spiritual communism, from each according to his ability to each according to his need. If a Shudra has a bigger family than the Brahmin, there's no reason for the Brahmin to have more food in his house than the Shudra. Does it make sense? I'm talking too much, but I hope you find it entertaining. I hope you get pleasure from these.
Very good.
Pleasure from these ideas. Eh?
Very good ideas. Prabhuji, I will have to leave because I have some work to do. And I would like to say the last word is that if we can build up the bridge in between the Sudra
Join us whenever you want.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
You can join us on Monday or Tuesday and Friday and Thursday also if you like. And we can create a little meeting just around you to discuss things that are not the main Istagosthi topics of the League for 10K. Do you like that title, the League for 10,000 Years? That's who we are. We want to deliver everybody. Lord Chaitanya wanted everybody delivered. Let's now go and do it. It's not that long ago. 500 years is nothing. It's in our own lifetimes, 500 years. Think back. How far back in history to the 1500s? How long does it take to go from the 1500s to the 2000s? Yeah, it's 500 years.
Yeah.
That's not very much history. You know, think of all the things that happened during that time. Columbus discovers America. You know, I mean, that wasn't so long ago either. You know,
they need to have a change. So the change is here, I think.
Yes,
we need to cooperate. Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
I know you have to leave out. Are you in touch with Chidananda?
Yes. He's staying at I found a house for him, and he is staying in the center. So I will call him back. Thank you, Prabhuji.
We worship Chidananda, and because of you and your beautiful countenance and great intelligence, I have to say we're beginning to worship you too.
No, I need to worship your
you are. You know how I know? You can know I worship. I called you. I was initiated in 1968, September 20th. I worship you. How? I call you Prabhu. You're my master.
Yes. No, I'm servant of yours. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
That's how, and that you just put your finger on how conflict is resolved in devotee society for real.
Yes.
Prabhu.
Yes. Okay, I have to leave.
Prabhu. How are you going to put down somebody called Prabhu? Okay, Prabhu. Please to get on with your work and welcome back again. Hopefully on Saturday and Sunday too, if you have time.
Sure, Prabhuji. I will connect with Ramachandra Prabhu and he will let me know.
Yes.
Yes.
He Ramachandra is the chairman of the board.
Sure.
And I have the distinction of being the guy that talks too much.
Yeah.
That's my role.
Hare Krishna.
And Ramachandra tries to stop me from talking too much. And Rupa Manjari has all the brains. Hare Krishna.
Krishna. Hare
Haribo. Thank you.
God, my obeisances to you.
Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Wow, what a wonderful, fantastic, amazing conversation.
Yes.
You can see when a person's heart is into the outcome,
yes,
it's easy to talk, right? It's easy. When people are busy trying to make others feel badly, stuff, oh, that's not good. But when somebody picks up the idea of Type of Varnasrum and runs with it, they're easy to deal with.
Yeah.
He's easy to deal with.
Yes, Narendra Prabhu has been, in the movement since he was a young young boy. So he's very dissatisfied with ISKCON's management and how they don't take care of devotees, how a lot of Srila Prabhupada's instructions have been neglected.
Yeah,
No
he
kidding.
seems like a very nice devotee.
So his parents are devotees. Are you saying?
What did you say, Prabhu? What did you ask? You see what?
Oh, are his parents devotees?
I don't know. We'll ask him next time we meet him.
Because I thought you said he was raised from a child on devotees.
Yeah, he's been a it might be, or it might be he was just I think he's a disciple of Gopal Krishna Swami, I think, or something like that.
He is?
Yes.
Well, we're going to take him far beyond that level. We're going to work with him until Gopal Krishna begs to take initiation from him. Not really. We're thinking. Gopal Krishna is already initiated by Srila Prabhupada. And I knew Gopal Krishna in New York in 1968 he was a brahmachari from Canada. He got married to a devotee girl who was in high school at the time. So Gopal Krishna goes a long way back.
Should we read some more?
Yes, Rupa Manjari Prabhu, let's read, and then after that we'll end it. I think we're coming down to the last 15 minutes, so let's read, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see, where did I stop? Okay. Rupa Manjari Prabhu, why not you finish it off, huh? We're starting right.
In Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly stated that there are many types of Jagya performances recommended in the Vedic literatures, but actually all of them are meant for satisfying the Supreme Lord. Jagya means Vishnu. I think we already read this.
Oh, okay, let's skip then. All right, this one.
As confirmed in the Vishnu Puran, Varnashrama Charavata Purushena Parapuman Vishnur Aradyate, Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 858. By accepting the institution of Varna and Ashrama, one can very easily elevate himself to the platform of worshipping Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Otherwise, if one remains in the bodily conception, one must rot within this material world, and his life will be a failure. It is essential that society be divided into 4 groups of men: Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. Here we see that although Prahlad was perfect in every respect, he nonetheless followed the instructions of the Brahmins who performed the Vedic rituals. We have repeatedly stressed that human culture does not begin unless one takes to the principles of Varnasrum Dharma. As stated by Lord Shiva, Aradhanam Sarvesham Vishnur Aradhan Param Tasmat Parataram Devi Tadiyanam Samarjanam. Padma Puran. Although in the Vedas there are recommendations for worshipping many demigods, Lord Vishnu is the supreme person, and worship of Vishnu is the ultimate goal of life. The Vedic principles of the Varnashram institution are meant to organize society to prepare everyone to worship Lord Vishnu. Varnashram Acharavata Purushena Parapuman Vishnu Radhate Panta Nanya Tatosa Karanam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, is worshipped by the proper execution of prescribed duties in the system of Varna and Ashrama. There is no other way to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vishnu Puran 389. One must ultimately worship Lord Vishnu, and for that purpose, the Varnashram system organizes society into Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras, Brahmacharis, Grihastas, Vanaprasthas, and Sannyasis.
That's incredible. Go ahead.
According to Vedic principles,
we're right here, Rupa Manjari Prabhu.
Oh, okay. Can you move it down a little bit?
Oh, yes, I know.
Okay, thanks. Jagyas can be performed in human society only when society is divided by Varnashram Dharma into 4 Varnas and 4 Ashramas. Without such a regulative process, no one can perform Jagyas, and without the performance of yagyas, no material plans can make human society happy at any time. According to Vedic principles, there must be divisions of human society. Chaturvarnyam maya sritam. There should be Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras, and everyone should learn to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Tam Abhyarchya. This is real society, and without this system, we are left with animal society. Although it has become fashionable to speak of Daridra Narayan, the words Vishnur Aradhanartaya do not mean that all the people satisfied by Nanda Maharaj in this great ceremony were Vishnus. They were not Daridra, nor were they Narayan. Rather, they were devotees of Narayan, and by their educational qualifications, they would satisfy Narayan. Therefore, satisfying them was an indirect way of satisfying Lord Vishnu. Madbhakta Pujabhaya Ika. The Lord says, worshipping my devotees is better than worshipping me directly. The Varnashram system is entirely meant for Vishnu Aradhana, worship of Lord Vishnu. Varnashrama Charavata Purushena Parapuman Vishnu Aradhyate. The ultimate goal of life is to please Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Lord. Krishna has begun in this chapter, Chartu Varnyam Maya Sristam Guna Karma Vibhagasaha. That is very essential to Varnashram Dharma, because we must have the aim of life. At the present moment, there is no aim of life. The aim of life is sense gratification, that's all. The Hindu name is given by the Mohammedans. Actually, our Dharma is Varnashram Dharma, 4 Varnas and 4 Ashramas. That is the real name, Varnashram Dharma. The whole Vedic culture is dependent on Varnashram. It is meant for everyone, not that it is meant for Indians only. No. Formerly, there was no such piecework. One world, one king, one God, Krishna, one scripture, Vedas, one civilization, Varnashram Dharma. Should we discuss some of this?
Sure. Which one you wanna talk about, Prabhus?
Well, I think that last one is very powerful. One world, one king, one God, one scripture, one civilization.
Jai. Yeah. Prabhupada uses this in his Bhagavad Gita also. Let there be one God, Krishna. Let there be...
One flag, one language.
Yes, yes. That's the end of the Gita, right? At the end of
Yeah.
the Gita. Yes.
Yeah.
I was just looking it up. So go ahead, Rupa Manjari Prabhu. You wanted to...
Hello.
Yes. Manoj Prabhu. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, Prabhu. So, I mean, this, what I understood from this is like kind of Ananya Bhava, in the sense, like, I should always try to attend Krishna. So if at any point I try to ask for help to any devotee of Krishna, that is also should be to attain Krishna, not for any other cause. Like Prabhu is there, he is also like a devotee of Krishna. So I should ask him to help me to come near to Krishna. So in that sense, so any demigod, anything is there, anybody is there. So to ask for their help is only to attain Krishna. So that is Ananya Bhav, not for material causes. For example, like gopis in Vrindavan did some brata for to attain Krishna in Maharashtra. So in that sense, is the understanding correct, or am I missing something? Or it's like unique one God should be there. There will be no other God. Like other cultures are there.
No, Srila Prabhupada is talking about the Vedic system when 5,000 years ago there was, one scripture, and there were other people, meaning that they were, the Chandalas were there, I'm sure, the Malechas were there also, but they were outside the Vedic culture, right? They always existed. So,
Yes, I mean the root for all knowledge is one book, but
yeah.
there are different versions. Like suppose Deviji created this PDF. Now we can say this is his her version, rooted from the original version. So I mean, there are some mismeanings, some here and there, but the root is one book. Yeah.
Try. Okay, Manjari Prabhu, you were talking about the last this verse. Formerly there was no such piece of work. One world, one king, one God, Krishna, one scripture, Vedas, one civilization, Varnashram Dharma. In the last paragraph of the introduction, just before the disciplic succession in the 1972 Gita, Prabhupada writes, in this present day, man is very eager to have one scripture, one God, one religion, and one occupation. So let there be one common scripture for the world, Bhagavad Gita. Let there be one God, only for the whole world, Sri Krishna, and one mantra, only Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And lastly, and let there be one work only, the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Nice. That's beautiful.
This is incredible.
So it sounds like Prabhupada is calling for that we need to make the whole world Krishna conscious.
And that is what we are doing with the League for 10K. That's what our League for 10K means.
Right. So we're coming up to the last few minutes. So anyone else, Prabhus? We got a good crowd today. We had like, I don't know, 10 people today visiting or joining.
Very nice.
So thank you to all the devotees for joining. Any last words or any discussion before we zoom out?
Haribol?
Yes, Andrew Nanda Prabhu, go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to, I guess, comment.
Yes, Prabhu, go ahead.
There was a statement made earlier that was likening Varnashram Dharma to communism. But I just wanted to make a really important distinction about communism, is that inherently they reject all religion, all spiritual practices. So it's an atheist establishment form of government, and that's the main distinguishment between the concept of communism and socialism. The way you had so many people being persecuted in Russia for practicing Bhagavad Dharma.
Well,
but
there's a
you
distinction. There's a
Go ahead.
distinction between communism and spiritual communism. Spiritual communism means that there isn't some group that's controlling all the rest and taking the profits for themselves. It's actual communism in the sense that, like Narayana said, from each according to his ability to each according to his need.
What is the need for putting such an English term on such a profound concept? English is so imperfect. I mean, I understand definitely understand your statements, and
Those are Srila Prabhupada's own words. That's what Srila Prabhupada said.
right.
Here it is from the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam preface. Srila Prabhupada says here, we must know present need of human society. And what is the need? Human society is no longer bounded by geographical limits to particular countries or communities. Human society is broader than in the Middle Ages, and the world tendency is toward one state or one human society. The ideals of spiritual communism, according to the Srimad Bhagavatam, are based more or less on the oneness of the entire human society, nay, of the entire energy of the living beings. The need is felt by great thinkers to make this a successful ideology. Srimad Bhagavatam will fill this need in human society. It begins, therefore, with an aphorism of Vedanta philosophy, Janmadhyasya Yataha, to establish the real ideal, the ideal of a common cause. So the word spiritual communism is used 4 times in the Srimad Bhagavad Purana. This is once here in the preface. Any other discussion? Any comments, Andrew, Ananda Prabhu?
I
That's an
suppose I just
incredible
wanted to
quote.
make the distinction, right? It's good that Prabhupada distinguishes in his statements about spiritual. It says it describes it specifically spiritual communism. It's
Yes.
just that when other people, there's a certain connotation. So I just wanted to
Okay.
clarify to anybody who might be listening.
So that's why I looked it up, spiritual communism, and the definition according to Srila Prabhupada and the Srimad Bhagavad Purana. So they have an understanding about what actually spiritual communism is, according to Srila Prabhupada and the Srimad Bhagavad Purana. Let's see. So maybe you can read this, Andrew, Ananda Prabhu. Can you?
What's that?
Maybe you can read this part.
Sure. The word asteyam is also very important for a yogi. Asteya means to refrain from theft. In the broader sense, everyone who accumulates more than he needs is a thief. According to spiritual communism, one cannot possess more than he needs for his personal maintenance. And that is the law of nature. Anyone who accumulates more money or more possessions than he needs is called a thief, and one who simply accumulates wealth without spending for sacrifice or for worship of the personality of Godhead is a great thief.
So there you go.
Swadhyaya means reading the authorized Vedic scriptures. Even if one is not Krishna conscious and is practicing the yoga system, he must read standard Vedic literatures in order to understand. Performance of yoga alone is not sufficient. Narottam Das Thakur, a great devotee and acharya in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, says that all spiritual activities should be understood from three sources, namely saintly persons, sadhus, standard scriptures, shastra, and the spiritual master, guru. These three guides are very important for progress in spiritual life. The spiritual master prescribes standard literature for the prosecution of the yoga of devotional service, and he himself speaks only from scriptural reference. Therefore, reading standard scriptures is necessary for executing yoga. Practicing yoga without reading the standard literatures is simply a waste of time.
Haribol. So that's the second time it's used in Srimad Bhagavatam, and there's two more times.
It's very, each time he says it, there's a clear adjective before it, spiritual.
Yes. So that's.
I don't mean to make a big,
No, it's okay. You made a very good point. So if people hear it, so they have a proper understanding, according to Bhaktivedanta, Srila Prabhupada, what is spiritual communism. They don't hear the word and they, go off on a tangent and be like, oh, what are they talking about?
Yeah, because if you're somebody from Russia and you've been, say that you had a past, that's your experience with the state oppressing your practice.
Yes.
And you hear that word, it can be like a certain
Trigger,
connotation in your mind, right?
Yes.
Or like maybe cause an offense in that way. But and when he says spiritual communism, that I think that's like what really the spiritual part is what gives the definition.
Well, may I comment?
Yes.
Yes, probably, yes.
Communism as proposed by Karl Marx and communism as practiced by Stalin, Lenin, and Trotsky and people like that in Russia or in China is more slightly better in China, but the basic idea as Europe, etc., practicing communism was not communism. And in fact, Russia never called itself communist. Russia was called the United something of Socialist Republics. USSR meant Socialist Republics. Socialism and communism are not the same thing. The principle of socialism is from each according to his ability, to each according to his work. That means the state is a big employer and pays people according to what they do. A carpenter gets paid less than a doctor. communism is from each according to his ability and to each according to his need, I might suggest that I have done some reading that indicated that Karl Marx, Engels, and Hegel actually studied the Ramayana, which is Ramraja is spiritual communism. Ramraja is based on from each according to his ability to each according to his need.
Right.
And that's why Raja is considered to be the finest example of government in existence.
It's time to end the meeting.
Okay, but let's just tie up this one a little bit, and I would like to see Dr. Andrananda understand that what Karl Marx wrote in Das Kapital is not what happened in Russia or any of the communist countries. It didn't work out because greed triumphed over goodness. I might make one more comment also on that, is that Karl Marx, or the Jewish people, Karl Marx was at least supposedly Jewish, and that is called Tikkun Olam. Tikkun Olam means to heal the world. Early charity means I give to a man in the street who's begging, I give him some money or food or something. Then the next thing, I create a place where you have a soup kitchen for those men. Third one, you do it, but don't put your name on the building. And it keeps on going up the ladder to the 8th degree of charity, which says, create a world in which charity is no longer required. And that is the basic core of Karl Marx's idea of communism, which failed terribly. And he failed in a lot of what he wrote because he created what is called the dictatorship of the proletariat, which is you don't want the proletariat to be in charge of anything. They're the shooters. So that was a complete failure in his concept. But he did like Ramraja, and he did like the idea from each according to his ability to each according to his need. Unfortunately, Karl Marx and the entities like Russia and the socialist countries of Europe that came out of it never got close to achieving anything such as Karl Marx had wanted, or for that matter, Lord Ramachandra wanted, or for even more so, that Prabhupada wanted. But Prabhupada definitely used the term Type of Varnasrum Dharma is spiritual communism. So we have to go to Russia and give them a lesson in communism, not that they will give our Vedic society a lesson in their communism. That's not going to happen. Hare Krishna.
It seemed like Prabhupada was using this terminology in order to correct the understanding of what communism is, using this, likening it to Type of Varnasrum Dharma. How the audience, the Nazis heard the word Aryan, and in the same way, how we correct people, tell them that term actually means noble, very noble spiritual.
Oh, yeah, Aryan means from the sun planet. The swastika is the symbol of the sun planet.
Right. In the same way,
it's on Arjuna's chariot, going both directions. Some people say one direction is good, one direction is bad. No, the swastika is a very holy symbol. We can't get into how Hitler ended up with it, except to say that the Teutonic Knights, the Knights Templar had a big red cross on the tunic that went over their shining chainmail armor, and the Teutonic Knights had armor, and they had over that a tunic that went over their armor with a swastika on it. This was all part of German history, and we can understand that the German people and the European people were descended from those Kshatriyas that were kicked out of India by Lord Parshurama. We could go on forever with all of the details. I just wanted to give the slight overview so that people get an idea we're dealing with something big.
All right.
That's
Jai.
good. I just wanted to conclude by saying that I feel that Prabhupada, in the same way, he reclaims the word communism to put it in its proper
Jai.
context.
Exactly.
Haribol.
Prabhu, Andrew Prabhu. Prabhu means master. I say Andrew Prabhu.
Haribol. Jai.
Because you've transformed your earlier comment into a transcendental understanding. What else can I say but Prabhu?
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much to all the devotees for participating. We'll have our next session on Saturday, Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. Anyone who's watching this on Facebook and on YouTube, they can join live. Please join the WhatsApp group I have in the description of the YouTube video or the Facebook group video, and then we'll send you out notifications whenever we go online. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Jai.
Thanks to the chairman of the board.
Haribol, Prabhu.
That
Haribol.
was wonderful.